Hi patrons, welcome to Ecuador Homestead. So today in this video I'm going to be talking about how you can immigrate here to Ecuador and get permanent residency coming up. So how everybody, how's everything doing? So I'm going to be talking about how you can get permanent residency, top 5 ways you can do that. So let's get into it. Okay, so now the first thing I want to mention real quick before we get into those things is that before you can attain permanent residency here in Ecuador, you have to have a temporary visa for 2 years. When we were going through this process of getting residency, we didn't have to do this because this law wasn't in effect yet. So one thing I want to mention is some of these things, the laws are always changing. You always have to check and make sure what's the case of everything because it's always changing. And so, I mean, there's a bunch of different other laws that has changed. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna get into is the first out of 5 things that you can do to immigrate here to Ecuador is marriage. Now, a bunch of people may be like, hey, well, I'm married, don't worry about it, I got some other things for you guys. You'll fit into one of the 5, don't worry about it. But you can come down here to Ecuador and get married and attain residency that way. And it's actually better because you can actually get citizenship a lot faster, what I believe. You can get citizenship a lot faster than you can if you get like the pension, what I'm going to mention in a little bit, the pension or some other ways that you can attain residency. Okay, so the next one is have a child here in Ecuador. So if you come down here to have a child in Ecuador, you can actually attain residency that way. That's actually the way we have attained residency, is by having a child here in Ecuador. And so that's how we have our visa, our permanent residence. Okay, so the next thing out of 3 I want to mention, guys, is a professional visa. A 4-year degree. If you have a 4-year degree, then you can actually attain residency here in Ecuador. And so this is another way that you can attain residency. I don't know anything about this really, but I've heard about it, so I just thought I'd mention it so you can think about it if you want to attain residency here in Ecuador. So that's one of them. So the next thing I want to mention is your pension. You can get a residency with a pension. And so that is another thing that you can do. And so it's not like, one of the things I want to mention is that you can't get citizenship as fast as you could if you had married somebody or if you had a child here in Ecuador. So you can't do that. The fifth thing now to attain residency here in Ecuador is buy a property. Your property has to be a certain amount of value. So like, I think the minimum may be like 20,000 or something, but anyways, your property needs to be valued at a certain amount of money to be able to attain residency here in Ecuador, okay? So that is one of the things that you can do. Now, like I mentioned a little bit ago with the pension, you can't attain citizenship near as fast as you could have if you had a child here in Ecuador or married somebody here in Ecuador. So I thought I'd mention that real quick. Okay, and those are the top 5 ways that you can actually immigrate here to Ecuador and get permanent residency here in Ecuador. So it's a little frustrating that you have to wait 2 years, have a temporary visa before you can get permanent residency, but laws are always changing around nowadays, and it's just super crazy here in Ecuador when they're changing all these laws. And so like I said, when we went through, we didn't have to deal with this, but there's laws changing all the time, so now this is a new law. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, make sure you like, and I'll see you next time at Ecuador Homestead. Bye!